Alright, so this morning I thought my morning commute would do a little highway range test on my Zero DSRX. So I've charged her to 100%. The charge finished last night, so the battery's not warm or anything. So probably call it 99%. My commute is 40 miles, 80 miles round trip, and it's mostly highway. So I took the bike for a test run, and I actually calculated out that at 70 miles an hour, I'm using reverse by the way, which is amazing. 70 miles an hour, I should be able to get 80 miles on the dot. Now, it seems to be risky, right? But with my commute, about 10 of it is in very slow traffic. So I'll hop in the HOV lane because I can legally do that on my motorbike. So I'm hoping that I'll end up with actually even a little bit of a buffer. Beep, 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 beep. Hopefully nothing's behind me. Alright, so battery's 100, trip A is 0. Alright, off we go. So what I'll do is just I'm riding in eco mode, by the way. And what I'll do is I'll hop on the highway. I just went and reached for the clutch. Funny, I'm still not totally used to this. I'll hop on the highway, maybe go for 10 miles or so, see what I'm getting. Perfect timing, I'm trying to leave my road. See what I'm getting, and then I'll sort of resume when I get to the traffic use section. While I'm doing this, maybe I'll talk about the bike a little bit. Alright. This is funny. God, what did I ride last? I must have ridden, I think I rode my R65, which was my dad's bike. Bought it brand new in 1987 or 6, something like that. Cruise control on. Let's turn on ANC mode. Nice and quiet wind. That's so much better. I'm using the Cena whatever helmet with the camera built into it. Camera kind of blows, but the INC portion is really, really cool. It does clean up the buffeting noise quite a bit. So what you'll see with this commute here, though, is that I'm only about maybe a mile to the highway, and then it's just going to be straight highway. So the highway commute, I'm going to do it at 70 miles an hour. See what that gets me. If I have to slow down on my commute home, then so be it. Typically, I would do this commute at like 80, 85, honestly. But, I'm trying to figure out if I can actually use this bike to commute to my office or not. With that said, I don't really use a bike to commute as much as I used to. I was living in Boston forever, commuted on my bike for 10 years straight. But the highway stuff I don't love, mostly because the first thing I want to do in the morning is not really put on a whole bunch of motorcycle gear and sit on the highway for 40 miles. But it's a big money saver and it's a big time saver because I can use the HOV lane. So it would be nice if maybe one day a week I could I've got my heated grips on. Let's turn those off. Yep. It would be nice if one day a week I could use the bike to commute in. So, let's see here. So we're getting on the highway at 100%. Now obviously there are buffers. My helmet's already fogging up, even with the double glazing, whatever the hell it's called, pin lock. So let me get to, just turn off the heated grips, please. Thank you. Get up to 65, 70 or so, and just hit my cruise button. Hopefully I can sit there for some portion of time. Alright, so this is it. So just getting on the highway, it jumped from 100% to 98%. So with that said, you know, I do have the touring screen like all the way up. Maybe I'll bump it down a little bit. Yeah, alright, so I just bumped it down a couple notches, and that does help. It's funny how much you start to learn about the era of these electric vehicles once you get into electric vehicle ownership. My other EV at the moment, oh damn, this thing's really fogging up. It's a very, very, I don't know what the dew point is, but it's a very foggy type morning here. My other electric vehicle is a Rivian, and I've thrown the bike in the back of this and sort of, you know, did a little efficiency examination on the impact of having the bike stick out from the bed. You know, it's definitely less efficient, but it's actually not as inefficient as I thought it might end up being, which is great. But yeah, I mean, what I've noticed on this bike is that even adjusting the windshield makes a difference. Pretty crazy. So usually if I don't care about range, I'll just keep it all the way up, because I like a big barn door of a windshield. But today I'll knock it down a couple notches, ride it somewhere along the lines of where most people might ride it. So now I might bump it up one more. I am 6'2" for what that's worth, so I do like a little bit of windshield action. Alright, so I'm 4 miles in at 96%. A little bit of my hope with this is that with so many cars on the road, that there's less aerodynamic drag. Obviously I'm not really riding the buttocks of the car in front of me, but I do find that roads with a lot of cars on them tend to be more efficient than roads that do not have a lot of cars on them. And somebody much more educated in how wind works would be able to tell me why. Golly, fog on this fucking thing. It's killing me. Come on, man, unfog. Do me a solid. A phone call. I'm going to ignore it. Alright, 5 miles in, 95%. The one thing I don't like about this bike, or one of the things, is that you can't adjust the cruise control faster or slower, so you just have to bullseye the speed you want. Hope you get it. So it took me a couple tries there to get 70. Alright, so I'll report in a bit. I am on the road now for probably 28-ish miles before I hit the big traffic-y bit. We'll see how she does. Alright, let me pause the stern show here. Okay. So now I'm at the traffic-y bit here. I've gone exactly 30 miles. Indicated 30 miles. I think that this thing is a little overzealous on its mileage, actually. But 30 miles on 35%. The battery is at 65%. So what I did is I went 70 as best I could, and I did go 70 for the majority of the trip. And then, once it got a little bit more congested, I just sort of stayed in the middle lane, the slow lane, somewhere, between, call it 60 and 70. And now, from here on out, I'll be surprised if I can hit 50, even though I'm going to take the HOV lane. At this point, usually the cop is gone, allowing just anybody to take the HOV lane. So let's get over. So I'm going 45-ish right now, 50. So with 63%. So my hope was to get to my office with 55%. Obviously 50. The cop is there. Brilliant. Thank God. This is actually going to pay off. Fantastic. My hope was to get to my office with 55%. Now, that was a very, very hopeful hope. Hello, sir. Obviously, 50% should theoretically get me home, but I wanted a little bit of a buffer for, the battery cooling off once I get there. I'm going to back it off a little bit here. Let's go down to that. So I'm set at 49 now, which is actually kind of fast for the HOV lane, which is nice, but this guy's going to make me slow down even more. Okay, that's fine. Good, make me efficient. So now I'm set at 44. So we'll see what happens. So I've got 63% left, and I've got about, I don't know what it is on this HOV lane. Maybe it's 8 or 9 miles from where the HOV starts. Might be 7. But it's sort of forced efficiency, which is great. Typically what people do in this HOV lane is they'll get in here and just kind of set the cruise to a lower speed, expecting there to be some sort of traffic further up. So we'll see what happens. Maybe I'll speed up if I have to. But yeah, so now I'm still at, let's see here, 32 miles now and still at 63%. So backing off the throttle has helped a ton, obviously. Yeah, so we'll see how it goes. It might be totally possible to get to my office with that 55% I was hoping for. And now these conditions, I don't know if you can see with the camera, but it's ambient temperature is 51 degrees, so it's a bit chilly. I even used the heated grips for a little while, though I've noticed really no negligible efficiency loss by turning on heated grips or turning on my actual heated gear, which is not on right now because it's not cold enough. But yeah, I rode a good ride with my heated gear on, and then at some point I just decided to turn it all up and see what happened, and it really didn't make much of a difference that I could calculate out in my head anyway. So that's really, really nice. All that stuff works off of the 12-volt battery. I don't know if it just sort of drains the 12-volt battery, and then maybe when you plug it into a charger, it charges the 12-volt battery as part of that process. I don't really know. But yeah, I saw really no negligible change in efficiency with the heated grips or heated gear on. Let's see, my touring screen it's not all the way up, but it's one notch from the top. In fact, I'll probably bump it down now that I'm in a slower spot. So 33 miles, 62%. We'll report back. All right. All right. So end of the HOV lane. 36 miles in, and I'm at 59%. So the HOV lane, I went about 50 miles an hour the whole time. Now this is where this bike, there are a lot of things to like about this bike, but this is absolutely one of them. There's no bullshitting around in traffic, no clutch, no shifting, no bullshit. Just sort of get in line, stop when you stop, go when you go. It really, really makes commuting on a motorcycle a million times easier. I don't know if I'll hit stop and go traffic here, but I definitely might. Now, obviously, I'm on the DSRX, and this is not a commuter That's not what Zero is selling it as anyway, as a commuter bike. But this is one really, really big reason to get a Zero if you commute in traffic a ton. It's just so easy. I mean, it's easier than riding a moped. You know, it just there's no shifting around or nothing. And then on top of that, the thing is just dead silent. So I've literally never. This is the first time riding my Zero to work. And I've ridden, like I said, I've ridden lots and lots of bikes to work, GS, Ducatis, blah, blah, blah. This is the first time I've been able to listen to talk radio. And easily so. Whereas I could just never hear what was going on. I mean, I don't know. This is kind of where I start getting into reviewer mode, but you know, there are just so many things that are really great about having an electric motorcycle, and I can't say honestly. I honestly cannot say that I've missed the noise or the shifting yet. I honestly can't say it. Now, with that said, I've got an old Wrangler that's stick shift. I've got a 2018 Camaro that's stick shift. You know, so I get my jollies. I've actually got two other motorcycles that are traditional. They're both BMWs with 5 or 6 speed transmissions, clutches, etc. But I don't really use them much. The R65 I basically don't ride, and my R1100S is more of a spare bike for friends. There's very few opportunities that I would take to ride one of those bikes over this thing. Yeah. So anyway, it's looking very, very, I mean, it's looking at this point probable that I'll get to my office with the 55% I had hoped for, which would theoretically give me a 10% buffer when I get home, which is good for two reasons. One, I don't really want to wear the battery down to zero, and two, I've got a nice safe buffer, you know, just in case, I don't know, whatever, it's windy, or it might be windy today. I saw on the weather report that this evening there might be 20-mile-an-hour winds going north, and of course I'm going south, so I might be less efficient on my way home. You know, who knows? But this gives me a nice buffer, and I tell you honestly, if it could do this today, you know, I don't really intend on riding in winter on this bike because, you know, obviously there's going to be a massive loss in range in the freezing, but I kind of wouldn't really want to do that anyway. I mean, I used to ride in winter all the time when I was living in the city with the heated gear, but 40 miles sitting on the highway in freezing temps is not it's not great. I did 90 miles once in like 13 degrees or something like that, and I lived through it, but I can't say it was particularly enjoyable. And again, it's not the first thing I want to do in the morning. I just kind of want to sit in a car and relax, if I'm totally honest. But, you know, for the odd off day that I want to commute in on this thing, maybe I want to save myself the $38 it costs to park, and a few bucks of electricity I have to use to get to the office. This is actually seeming like a totally viable option, which I'm really thrilled about. And then on top of that, on the highway, it's super, super stable. I mean, I've got, you know, this bike can ADV tour with the best of them. I feel like it's more stable than my Ducati Enduro was, my 1260. And it's it's definitely as stable or more stable than a GS is. A little less wind protection than the GS has, but that's everything. But more wind protection than the Ducati Enduro had, for sure. So yeah, I'm really, really enjoying it. So all right, so I've got maybe 2 miles left. I'll check back in once that's done. Stop recording. All right, so I'm now at South Station. 40 miles. I'd say 30 of which I went 65 to 70 miles an hour. 10 of which I went, call it 50. And then the last 2 will just be city riding. So I went 40 miles total. I'll probably tack on 1 more mile by the time I get to my office. And I'm at 56%, which is brilliant. Honestly, totally possible I could use this to be my commuter bike. I was really worried I wouldn't be able to. Now, had I gone 80 miles an hour like I normally would on that commute, I probably wouldn't make it back home. But there are plentiful charge point chargers around here. Of course, they're all in garages, so I would have to pay to go to one of them. But it's not like I wouldn't get home. But I will say at 70 miles an hour, you know, things were much more calm. And frankly, going 80 miles an hour like all these maniacs do on Route 3, and I'm one of them, really saves you like 2 or 3 minutes on that commute. So it's kind of silly anyway. I had a very nice, calm ride into work, which is rare. Though I'm not quite there yet. Oops, cones. Excuse me, cones. Yeah, I mean, this is fantastic. I'm really happy. So I'm not sure if I'll record the ride home because it's going to be pitch black. But I'm expecting more of the same. We'll see what actually happens. I'll see if I record it or not, or if maybe I'll make a part 2 or something like that. But I'm really expecting more of the same. So yeah, 41 miles now at 56%. Ambient temperature 53 degrees. Very happy. That is all. All right. Back at the bike after a long day of work. Let's see what we got here. Turn that off. So we've lost 1%. 55% now instead of 56, which is fine, hopefully. Alright, so let's get on the move here. Don't mind me doing anything illegal. So we'll see how we do here. So we're at 41 miles, 55%. So 41 miles and 45 percentage points. Not bad. Sorry for all the snotting and noise. I'm not even sick, but as soon as I decide to start talking on my video on YouTube, here comes the snot. So, c'est la vie. Nice evening. Trying to get out of here before it starts pouring rain. See how it goes. Lovely thing about a zero motorcycle, no putting it in neutral, no, don't do it, man. You're lucky. Just sit here. Not burning any gas, just kind of hanging. Hopefully not really burning any real energy. Just hanging. So strange. Alright, off we go. No, you don't. Think. Good boy. And just when you think you're going to get moving, you don't. But you kind of do, don't you? Some shiny stuff over here. Let's hope it's not glass. Okay, la-di-da-di-da. So again, this is why I'm sort of doing this test as my commuter bike, because, and a sort of range test for a commute, because most commutes have some degree of just traffic and nonsense. So even though my commute is 80 miles round trip, and I think the absolute max this thing could do, based on sort of a calculated test, would be 80 miles on the highway. Okay, thank you very much. Yep, off he goes to cut somebody else off. Yep, no, not going to do that one. Let's try this one. Let's see what sucker is going to let me in. Oh, maybe this guy, yeah. Oh, just kidding. No. God, this fucking commute. City is a nightmare. Yeah, anyway, so 80-mile round-trip commute, but a good, let's call it 20 miles of it is just traffic. So this is what's so great about a friggin' motorcycle, particularly an electric motorcycle, is I don't even have to fiddle around with the clutch. I just hit the gas and off I go. Cut right over to the lane that is most tolerable. It doesn't really mean much other than, well, it doesn't really mean much of anything, frankly. Not a huge lane splitter. You know, traffic stopped dead. I kind of do the weave back and forth maybe a little bit, but I try and sort of limit my potential for being murdered on my motorcycle, particularly when it comes to my work commute. Why get killed to go to work? A bit silly. But I'll do it when traffic's going very slow, obviously. God, it's just so nice not having to fiddle around with the clutch. I mean, don't get me wrong. After doing this for 10 years on a motorcycle, I got pretty goddamn used to it. And I can't say that it slowed me down at all. But it is really nice not having to do it at all now. Alright, so let's see how far we get here. Still at 55%, now at 42 miles. I expect the next bit here to be pretty efficient, so I'll check in a bit. Okay, so interesting. So I'm kind of cruising through the HOV lane here. I'm actually going a little bit faster than I normally would in the HOV lane, cruising along at anywhere from 45 to 55. I've now gone 49 miles indicated, and my battery is at 48%. For a minute there, I thought I might actually end up at 50 miles indicated with 50% battery, which would put me, interestingly enough, right back at what I get on my normal back road riding, which is, you know, anywhere from 40 to 60 miles an hour, cruising like American, you know, northeastern numbered back roads, twisties, more so curvy than twisty, but with the occasional twisty. So it seems like the efficient part of this commute is pretty handily canceling out the inefficient part of it. Now, with that said, in 2 miles or so, I'm going to hit the fast part again, where I'm going to get her up to 70 miles an hour and cruise control that. So, and I'll do that for about 30 miles. So we'll end up, we'll see where we end up battery-wise when I get home. I'm going to guess 10%, which after an 80-mile round-trip commute, mostly, well, all highway, but mostly reasonably speeded, I'd be pretty happy with, particularly when it's a little chilly out. You know, right now it's 57. I think it was 50 this morning. So we'll see how she does. A little bit more traffic here, but I'll check in 20 minutes or so. Alright, quite the fucking night of traffic here. Traffic much further than there usually is for some fucking reason. And it's raining, so that makes it particularly enjoyable. I will say, even though I'm stuck in traffic in the rain, this bike is still just so much more relaxing to be on for a commuting tool than a gasoline bike. It just is so much easier to ride. It's quieter, it's calmer, it's more relaxing. I mean, it's great. I'm honestly the most comfortable I could be under my current conditions, being on a motorcycle, stuck in traffic in the rain. But what I wanted to say is now I'm now at 54 indicated miles, and because I've been stuck in so much godforsaken traffic, look at this. Hope you guys can see this. This is what Boston life is. If you're thinking about moving here, don't. So I'm now at 54 miles and 44%. I was at 54 miles and 45% there for a second. But 54 and 44 now. So that's pretty goddamn close to a 1-to-1 mile to percentage point ratio, which is what I get on back roads. I did not expect to even touch that on this commute, so that's pretty interesting. Now, obviously, what I haven't done is the fast portion of the commute yet, so I'm going to get further and further away from that ratio because of that, but I mean, it's surprisingly close, so I've only got 25 miles left, so that makes that 15 miles of commute today. Good job. 15 miles of traffic today. Good job, Boston. So 25 miles left, so I'm finally speeding up. And I've got 44% left, so we'll see how she goes. Hopefully you guys can see what I'm doing, despite all the rain. I put the windshield all the way down to blow the raindrops off my windscreen here. So that'll probably help with my efficiency a little bit, but maybe it'll be canceled out by the wet. I don't know. I haven't, unlike an electric car, it doesn't seem like the wet impacts the motorcycle all that much. So, all right. Well, it looks like I'm at least getting somewhere now. I will check in a little bit, see how she does. Okay, so two things. Wasn't supposed to rain down here, and of course, as usual, the weather report has completely fucked me. Pouring rain, absolutely fucking pouring rain. Soaking wet now with moderately waterproof gear on. But so even with that, and the weather report did say there would be 20-mile-an-hour winds going northbound, and I'm going straight southbound down to Plymouth from Boston. Even with that, I'm damn near home, and I've got 10% left after what the bike calls. It'll probably call it 82 by the time I get to my house. Right now it says 81. The bike is a little overzealous on that mileage. I think it's more like I think it's 79 and change, but it's not too far off. So, and I think that commute. Okay, stopping for no reason. Let's see here. I think I left at 6. It's now 6:50. Over 40 miles. Do the math on that if you want. Average speed doesn't really seem to matter at all because so much of it is at relatively high speed. So I did the best I could to go 70. It's so friggin' congested tonight and rainy and windy. It was kind of difficult, but stayed in the slow lane, went anywhere from 60 to 70 the whole way home, those 30 miles. So call it 60 miles at 70 miles an hour, 60 to 70, call it 65 to 70 miles an hour, and then 20 miles of anywhere from 40 to 50, and then maybe a couple miles of just back road or city traffic bullshit. Yeah, totally doable. So I'm very, very happy. My DSRX is actually going to work out just fine as a commuter bike, should I decide I want to use it like that. Now, I don't know if I will, but it's going to work just fine, which is great. So, anyway, home sweet home. Thanks for watching, if you did, and goodbye.